sponsors.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. You are back watching Think About It with Joshua Salaam. I'm your host, and today, as I told you, I'm bringing in even more special guests in Imam Majid. Today, we're going to be talking with my mother, so if you want to watch this show, you got to come right back. It's going to be amazing. This is all brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. Small change, big difference. Stay right there. Welcome back. You are watching Think About It with Joshua Salaam, your host, brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. Small change, doing big things, making a big difference in the world. So thank you for supporting us and thank you for supporting them. Today in the studio, we have my mama, Dr. Jeanette Hablullah. So give her a round of applause. The crowd goes wild. Assalamu alaikum, Mom. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
So for those who have never met my mother, this is my mother. And, you know, as part of Native Deen, people say that Abdul Malik and I look alike, you know, for some reason, you know. But yeah, so we get that a lot. People ask me about his mother. People ask me about his wife. People ask him about my mother. So everybody's, you know, but now to get it right, we had to put it on camera. This is my mama. And I'm going to interview her about some stuff, so stay right there. So, Mom, thank you for coming on the show and agreeing to coming on the show. Is this weird for you, getting an interview by your son?
No.
No?
I talk to you a lot.
But I don't think I've ever done an interview with you.
True.
Okay.
But you ask me a lot of questions.
I do. We have some good conversations sometimes. So tell me about, you know, before I was born, you went on a spiritual journey in the late 60s, 70s?
70s.
In the 70s?
But
so
it started in the 60s, yes.
So tell us about that. How did you come to Islam? Because you were raised Catholic, and you went to Catholic high school and all of that.
Catholic schools almost all of my life, except for 3 years in junior high, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But all the rest Catholic schools, yes.
Why? What happened in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade? Why did you go to different schools?
We moved to a different city, and you know, Catholic schools usually you have to pay for.
Okay.
So maybe in the move, maybe we couldn't afford it right away. Probably, I don't know, but. When we got to high school, my mother said, "You're going to an all-girls private high school," and I said, "I'm not going," but we did.
And did you feel like that Catholic high school gave you like some really good education? Because now, traditionally, Catholic high schools are like top-notch. And so if you went to an all-girls private Catholic high school, I would assume that you probably got, you know,
No.
good. No?
I didn't think so. The one thing that it did, because it was so small, I mean, in my class there were 20. The whole school, because when I started, it was just 9th and 10th grade. So I was in the 9th, my sister was in 10th, your aunt, Jacqueline. And so what it gave us an opportunity was we got more chance to do things that we would have in the larger school.
When you say your class, you mean the whole 9th grade or just that classroom with that teacher?
No, my class, my 9th grade class was like 22 people.
Oh, that is small.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, so when we graduated, yes, our graduating class was 22 people. That's it.
And you say you started having questions in there.
I think when I got to about 11th grade, when you get into high school, what happens is the nuns no longer teach you religion. The priests now have to teach you religion because they assume that that you've gotten to a intellectual level where the nuns are no longer capable, I guess, of teaching you spiritual things. So, but the Catholic tradition back then, I'm not going to say what it is now because I've been away from it for a long time, was very confining, very limiting. You know, like when I was younger, our religious education was, here's the question, here's the answer. You memorized it. That was your catechism class. And so one day I was in religion class with the priest, and you know, the girls, they were always asking him stuff. They were all rich, we were not. It was a very elite school. So they would say things to him like, so since, you know, we're supposed to be, you know, considering the poor and everything, are you going to give up your Buick Electra or whatever? And he said, no, I'm not going to get rid of my Electra, you know. So he's going to keep a fancy car. And so then one day she asked him a question. This one particular student asked him a question. He said, you don't ask that, you know. I don't even remember what it was, but I just remember looking at him and thinking, what do you mean you don't ask that? Why can't we ask things? And it just became, started becoming disillusioned with a religion that we couldn't question. And so after I got out of high school, I was still in the religion, and I got married in the religion, you know, first children were baptized in the religion, those are the older children. But I started going less and less because I think it was so empty. I don't remember feeling like I was getting anything. And so eventually I just stopped going to church, I stopped going to confession, I just stopped doing it.
You know, it's interesting. So I want to fast forward, even though I didn't want to talk about this in this segment. That story, I think, has always reminded me how important it is to ask questions, right? And so as a Muslim, I think I ask questions that the community or some of my friends may not be comfortable with, because I'm like, no, I remember my mother growing up, and she's like, you know, so if she could do that with her faith at the time, I have to be, you know, be able to ask questions. And if an imam says, you know, you shouldn't ask that type of question, say, no, you know, if it's a question that is bothering you, you should be able to ask it. And so that was that segment that we had with Imam Majid. But so what happens after that? You start looking?
Well, I did, you know, and I think that I wanted to be spiritual. I just didn't want Catholicism. We had grown up in a house where my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness. I knew I wasn't going there, and I had been to other Christian churches, so I knew I wasn't looking for Christianity. But I didn't really know what I was looking for, so I just started reading all kinds of things. I read Buddhist texts, I read some things on Confucius, and I started doing yoga and just, you know, thinking. But I wasn't really practicing anything because I didn't find anything that was magnetic enough to really hold me. But eventually, you know, my mother started getting involved with the Nation of Islam. And of course, I graduated in '66 from high school. So, you know, we're in the Black national movement and Afrocentric type stuff. And I did get involved with the Nation of Islam for about 2 years, from 1972, 73. But then I kind of walked away from that because that was just a little too crazy for me. And so, but I, you know, not knowing where else to go. But eventually, alhamdulillah, when Elijah Muhammad passed on and his son, Wallace, they came to be known as Warthaddin, began teaching what was actual Islam, then I got drawn back into that. So it was a process. It was definitely a process. And there were years of discomfort, not feeling that, you know, I really had a place to be spiritually. So, and those are dangerous places.
Because you said earlier, like you when you were being raised with Christianity, at a certain point you felt empty, or Catholicism, you felt empty and things. You know, sometimes you still hear that from Muslims. Like Muslims get to a point where they don't, Islam isn't doing it for them. They feel empty. This isn't and so for me, that's like when you know that, okay, we're doing something wrong. If you have Muslims who are having that same feeling of, you know, what's this faith doing? It's not doing anything for me, and we have to kind of reevaluate. You know?
Right. But I've had, and I understand that very well because I've had that feeling in searching for community, not in searching for religion. See, once you come to Islam, and this is what I know about myself, once you come to Islam and you come out of other things, there is no other place to go, and you know that you're not going anywhere else. But what you're looking for now is a healthy community where you can be in it and your deen can thrive. So you have deen. And you know it's the right, you know it's the truth, you know it's right, you've chosen it, you've made your decisions, but now you're looking for that environment in which you can flourish. So I know that feeling of emptiness, you know, when you're around people who don't seem to be interested in learning, who have maybe cultural, you know, narrowness of the deen, and that gets to be difficult. That really is. But what I know, if I get to that point, I know I have to walk away from that environment, but not walk away from the deen. So that's the whole different thing.
If you didn't, the reason why I was pressing on the Catholic school thing, because, you know, me growing up, you've always been a studious person, right? You were getting good grades in college, and you were always writing, you were always reading. So before I get to my next question, I kind of want to know, like, where did that come from? That you know, this studious type of culture that you have.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've had to think about, you know, what did I get from my parents? So, and one of the things that I realized I did get from them was an emphasis on the importance of knowledge. My father your grandfather
was a lawyer.
You know, he was a lawyer,
Right.
and but they were both in the military. So, but even in the military, they were studying. So they were, and they were both in the university at the same time. So, but had gotten into law school. Your grandmother, my mom, was into her undergraduate was like psychology, and then she ended up getting master's in special education. And when they had, you know, separated, and he was still in Kansas and we had gone to New Jersey, while she was working on her master's, she was taking us to the university with her. So we were on campus, you know, in the TV room or playing on the playground or whatever, while she was studying, taking classes and doing. So we were in educational settings. And one of the things, when we didn't have money, my mother would get encyclopedias, you know, so I mean, and you know that you've had some of them.
Yeah, that still exists today in the family.
Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. We might not have had, you know, enough food or whatever, the bills might not have, but we had encyclopedias. So it was like education was always important, knowledge was always important, and I have to, you know, I do have to give some credit to them for that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's where it comes from. So you brought that into the faith, and you were always studying religion, you were studying Quran, you were studying Arabic, you were teaching yourself Quran, you were putting us in different Quran classes and things like that. And that kind of morphed into you naturally, you know, I guess giving a halaqah, because now you've had a very long-standing halaqah. It's been going on for like 10 years.
We had our 10th anniversary, yeah. Which is not that unusual, but it is unusual for this area. And I think for, when I say for this area, there are African American social service and groups that have been around for 20 years or whatever. Masjid al-Safat in Baltimore, you know, I don't know what year, 25th or year or whatever, that they've been doing their sisters gathering. But they only do that once a year. But we have a group that's been meeting once a month for 10 years. We had our 10th anniversary in the month of Shaban, which was May. And we have not missed, we only missed 1 month in 10 years. And that was when Mom had a heart attack when she was 85 years old. And I thought I could do it because we always meet on a Saturday, second Saturday of the month, if anybody's interested. We always meet on a Saturday, and I thought I could do it. I thought I could take care of what I needed to do with Mom and still, but I couldn't do it. I just told him I can't do it. So we missed that 1 month. But in 10 years, we've never missed other than that 1 month.
And what draws people to this particular halaqah? Like, because you still Quran, it's still,
It is,
you know,
yeah.
just
Well,
talking about
yeah,
it.
I think, you know, let me tell you how it got started. There were sisters in this DMV area, the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia area, who recognized that there was a need for women to come together and study Quran. They, again, feeling empty, feeling like the khutbah at their masjid or whatever was going on at these masajid was not giving them what they needed.
They were looking for some type of community.
They wanted something else. So Maria Khatib, I'll just put her name out there. She has Noor Montessori School now, but Maria Khatib called me on the phone and she said, Sister Jeanette, we want to get a Quran study group together. Will you lead it for us? And I'm like, no. I said, no. She said, why not? I said, because I don't know any more than anybody else, and I don't want to do it. And she kept talking to me. She said, yes, but we like the way that you you know, present the Quran. We've heard you. We just would like you to do this. And I said, no, Mary, I really don't want to do it. So she kept talking. And what I found out later, she said, I wasn't going to take no for an answer, right? So she kept talking to me. I said, okay, I will do it, but don't call me a Quran teacher. Just facilitate the group. So when we came together, and you will remember because our first meeting was at your apartment when you lived in Sterling. You let us use your apartment, and we were expecting maybe 5, 6 people, and it's like people kept walking through the door, and we were like, you know, just looking.
Can I help you?
And we ended up with 17 people that very first night, and it was beautiful because our group is very ethnically diverse. You know, we have people from probably 5, 6 different countries, from Egypt, from Bangladesh, from we have European American, African American, we have Moroccans, we have, you know, Pakistani, we have just all different ethnic groups. We even have a Nigerian sister that comes every once in a while. Some people, they're not there every time, but we have a very, very ethnically diverse group, a very, you know, so that first night we realized this is like, you know, this is amazing. We don't know, we didn't know. Mary said at the end, she said, could you people introduce yourselves? Because we do not know who you are. And how did you find out about this? And it just was somebody said to somebody else, but women having a need for that Quranic Quranic, knowledge, Quranic discussion with each other. And they came, and we've been together. We have a core group. Oh, yeah, we have one sister was from Croatia. She moved to St. Louis, but she stays. We have an email list that goes out when our notes go out once a month. They go out to over like 150 people.
Oh.
And I've got people in Detroit that get the notes, and this sister in St. Louis. We've got people in different places that get the notes and follow us with the notes.
Wow. So for those who don't know, what she's saying is even after the halakha, she, I think it comes from that studious background, she puts together the notes from the discussion and she emails it out, and they have an email list of
No, we do that before.
Oh, you do it before?
I do the research before. We pick a topic. We always have a topic. I do the research before. I put the notes together, and we send them out so people can read them before we come together so we can discuss. So then we have the discussion and everything, and then, yeah.
Well, yeah, I know. I see the time, Mama. I'm watching the clock. Don't worry about it. We're going to take a small break. See, that's what happens when your mother comes on the studio. She's like, look at the time, son. We ran out of time. We'll be right back for more with my mother, Dr. Jeanette Hablullah. Don't go anywhere. Got some interesting stuff when we come back. This is all brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. I'm your host, Joshua Salaam, and we'll be right back.
Since August 25th of this year, over 600,000 individuals have fled from Myanmar into bordering Bangladesh. They've witnessed crimes against humanity. The United Nations calls what happened in Myanmar textbook definition of genocide, textbook definition of ethnic cleansing. We've been here for the last few months, providing them with access to clean drinking water, providing them with access to primary healthcare services, helping them build their shelters, as well as giving them weekly food distributions. We can't fathom what they've witnessed. The ones that have arrived into Bangladesh are the lucky ones. They're now residing in between the 22 to 25 official refugee camps that have now been established. With your continued support, we want to secure their future. We want to stay for the foreseeable future so that we can dig more water wells, so that we can provide them with more medication and more medical advice, so that we can help build more shelters, especially with the winter coming and the cold setting in. Please visit our website to find out more about our work and to support us with your generous donations. Thank you.
We are back with Think About It. I'm your host, Joshua Salaam, on a set with my mother. This is all brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. I hope you enjoyed the commercial. I hope you guys are supporting them and the work that they do, because they take a little bit of change and they do big things. Like my mother, she took a little bit of change. She has done big things. So she was telling us about her halakha that's been going on for 10 years, only missed 1 month. That's very consistent. And sometimes you've had to drive like 4 hours to get to the halakha.
Since I moved, yeah.
In the rain, in the snow, in the heat, and early in the morning, late at night.
It's rough.
So what's your motivation? Is it the feedback that you're getting from the sisters, or even if they didn't give feedback, you would do it? Like, what keeps you going after 10 years?
I do really feel, see, it's not my group, but I do feel a sense of commitment to the group because the women really do appreciate it. And we have one sister, she will get on the bus from New York City and come down every once in a while to attend our study group.
Really?
And sometimes she will join in on conference call. And she said to somebody else, she said, I've never met anybody like her. I mean, she never met anybody like me. She said, in that group, she said, I've never experienced anything like it. Mm-hmm. So that's, when you see that kind of effort and that kind of appreciation, mm-hmm. it does give you, the motivation to keep going. I really feel like if I didn't do that, they would feel let down. They would, and I don't want to let them down. Mm-hmm. So I keep going. And we just got a website too. It's so all of our notes are going to be on the website for 10 years.
Really? Sisters
Quran Study Group. It's a Sisters Quran Study Group. And unfortunately, I forget the exact name, but if you just type in Sisters Quran Study Group, I believe that you will find our website.
Really? It's got to be. I would think there's like a million sister Quran study groups. So, but if they type that, do they have the type of state to add to it to get you guys?
No, it is from this area, but we decided not to put of the DMV because we do have people coming from other places.
Right.
We do have that sister coming from New York, and we do have people.
Maybe they
following
could
us
add your name. So if you look for Sister Quran Study Group and then you type my mother's name, Dr. Jeanette Hablullah, you get that specific one that you're
So
looking
we're trying to fix it so that you can search by topic, so that you can put something in, because obviously in 10 years, once a month, we've done a lot of things, So, we just had our Ramadan session, so we talked about the realities of Ramadan, and then we also went and did highlights of Pearls of Quran, because every year a lot of us, not most of us, but a lot of us go to the Pearls of Quran conference every year. So.
And if you're watching from far away, Pearls of Quran is a local
Annual
conference that happens every year where scholars come in and they just really talk about Quran and different pearls that are in the Quran. But I'm going to use this opportunity to bring up a book that my mother wrote. So I want you guys to bring it up on the screen, my producers. It's called The Magnificent Organ. There it is right there. Look at it very closely. You can find it on Amazon. And we're going to use this as a segue into the next phase of what my mother does, which is natural healing. She's a naturopathic doctor. That's what the ND stands for. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how did you get into, because when we were growing up, you did work with the Kansas City Star. Your degree was in language, so you spoke Spanish and you spoke French, and you did some translations in the court. I remember that. Sometimes you would go to the courthouse and translate for immigrants and Spanish and things like that. So how did all of that morph into doing natural healing?
Well, I think that, what happened, I got interested in natural healing consciously when I got arthritis. I got arthritis after the twins were born, and then it got really, really bad with my next pregnancy. And I'm not a medicine taker. I don't like to go to doctors. We never did that much. I grew up in the country, we didn't do, and I'm talking real country. We didn't do like going to doctors much or anything like that. So there was a book called How to Eat Right to Stay Fit or something like that, Adele Davis, and I read that and actually cured my arthritis with nutrition. And so then and I used to have migraines, and I cured my migraines by taking ginseng, because I figured out my migraines were triggered by stress, and that if I would do something like to prepare my body for the stress, that I wouldn't get the migraine.
Now I'm going to interrupt with a quick migraine story. I think you remember this, right? So some people don't believe this stuff, but I'm telling you anyway, because she grew up without all that medicine, and therefore she raised us without medicine. I think I've taken one pill in my entire life that was in the military. It was a Motrin. We can talk about that later. But other than that, I didn't take any Advil, any Tylenol, any Bear, whatever. So I used to work with a sister who had migraines so bad that she used to take pills, medicine for her migraines from the doctor, and then they were still there, so then she started taking injections for her migraines. And she made a comment to me. She said, Joshua, my migraines are always there. This medicine just kind of allows me to function and still go through life. And then you came into office one day, or maybe she came to you one day.
She came to your house.
She came to see my mother like one time, and she hasn't had migraines since. Yeah. And people are like, what? No, I don't believe that. I said, well, that's what happened. I used to work with this sister. I know. So go ahead.
But see, my migraines were stress related. So what I did for myself was I started taking ginseng as a tonic to prepare myself, and then after that, I didn't get migraines anymore. And then I think I started taking B vitamins, and I think that niacin is one of the other things you can take as a pre-migraine to help you ward off migraines. But with that young woman, what it was, I had naturally adjusted her spinal alignment, and I think that was her problem, because when everything went back into place, she no longer had headaches. But it's amazing how a slight misalignment can cause, something like that.
But you said naturally, like how you adjusting people's spines without what is it called, a chiropractic, like? Yeah,
well, of course, and I can't do that, but we were taught, first of all, there is a natural intelligence in the body that knows, the body knows how it's supposed to be. And so all you have to do is help to reset it and put it back into that natural state. And once you can get it back into that natural state, the body's going to heal itself. So we learned, it's sort of like an energetic thing. When you place your hands in particular place, on the spine, on particular places, the bones will just naturally line up. And there are some
just by putting your hands there.
Yeah, and there are some essential oils you
do
can.
You have to have special powers for that? Do you gotta?
Well, let me.
Anybody puts their hands in a place, it's going to happen.
To some degree, because you have electrical energies in your body. I could say a lot about that, but like your right hand is positive, your left hand is on the palms. Right hand positive, left hand negative. So the natural flow of electrical energy is from the negative to the positive. So when you put your negative, hand at the bottom and your positive hand at the top, and you allow that flow, if the system isn't in too bad a shape, things will naturally begin to line up. And then you can also place your hand to the right and left and allow those bones, especially in the cervical area, those discs, those cervical vertebrae, to realign. Now,
and you can feel this happening when you have your hands there?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I sense things, but the people can usually feel it, and also, but there's a process to this healing, to this manual healing, and alhamdulillah, I'm always grateful for my formal teacher, because like I said, when I consciously became aware of it and got into it when I was in Indianapolis, and that was 1992. And I wasn't even looking for natural healing. I was actually looking in one of those, kind of like sale papers for something for the house. And I saw a reflexology course being offered. And I said, oh, here's something I've always been interested in. Let me call up, Now, this is 1992. I called and the woman said $700. And I could just feel something inside of me sink because I didn't have $700 available at that time to just put to that. And so I guess it was quiet for a few seconds. And she said, does that sound like a lot? And I said, yes. And she said, well, it's okay. You can pay as you go. And whatever that was that sunk inside of me, I felt it come back up like some type of energy. It just came back up and I was happy again. And I was like, wow, here's somebody that's not just concerned about money. She's really just must really be legit, right? And that was the best investment I ever made. Her name was Dr. Christina Brown. She wasn't doctor at that time, Christina Brown. And she was Austrian, and she was teaching reflexology and other things. So the first thing that I studied with her was reflexology. And there were some basic principles that I learned from her. One is that with the reflexology, you can't harm anybody, because all you're doing is using pressure points to allow the body to reestablish health in itself. And if something is too low, like if you have hypothyroid or something that is low, it'll bring it up. And if it's too high, if it's hyper, it'll bring it down. The body will do whatever it needs to do. So the same thing with the misalignment. When things are out of a line, it'll start to bring it back into place. But then you have to work with, and that's the thing, it's like the body heals from the inside out and from the top down. So the top down means your mind is like, you have to look at the person from the true holistic point of view as to how their spiritual self is, how their thoughts and their psychological and their emotional self is, and how their physical self is. You have to look at all of that, because there's an expression, psychology becomes biology. Like how you are thinking is going to become how you are. So if it was like negativity in your thoughts and everything that caused your spine to misalign, and I can line it up, but you're going to take it right back out. So
I think that's a good intersection between like modern day medicine as people know it today and what I learned from you growing up. Is like some of your clients, you would say, were having pain, and you weren't even touching them. You were just kind of, I guess, feeling the energy and things like that. And you would ask them about a shoulder or a knee or whatever. But then you would ask them about something that happened, in their life, or, what happened when you were 16 years old or whatever. And it turns out that some pain in their life, some trauma in their life manifested into physical pain.
Absolutely.
And therefore, the medicine that they were taking wasn't helping.
It would never touch it.
And you hear that so many times when people go to hospital. I've heard talk to brothers and sisters like, yeah, I tried this, the doctors, they can't figure it out, they don't know what it is, and you keep down in this medicine. And I've always been hoping for these sciences to align where people will be open to the and people know this, like some people know, like when my grandmother died, this started happening in my body, or when my child went through this, I started feeling pain over here. So everybody has a story where they know that. But how come the sciences haven't aligned where people are open to medical doctors realizing that, we've been trying everything, we can't figure this out. Let's try this? How come that's not happening?
Because that would mean success. And, this system really, may Allah, forgive me, it's satanic. It's devilish. And it's not really designed to heal people. It's just designed now. I mean, it used to be maybe way back. It was a healing entity, but now it's just a business entity and money-making entity. So it's not. When you see more medical
centers, you've had medical doctors work with you too, right?
Yes, those who really are in it for the healing. Mm-hmm. I have had medical doctors send me their people because they know they have put them on a medicine that's going to ruin their kidney or deteriorate their bones or something like that, and they send it to me. Jeanette, please help me get this person off of this because this is going to, it's going to end up, sending them to dialysis or whatever. And I have too when they're hopeless. Like I've had one doctor send a woman to me. She was 4th stage liver cancer, given like 3 weeks to live or something like that. So when they say, "Well, we can no longer do anything for them," then that's the kind of people that I get.
You get the worst of the worst. We can't do nothing for you. Here, go.
It's okay. I had a 16-year-old boy when I was in Indiana. He had cancer that had started out like in his testicles or somewhere and had spread through his body. And they had done everything. They had done the chemo, radiation, and all this stuff, and basically just almost destroyed the poor child. And then when they said to his mother, "There's nothing else we can do. You need to take him home, make him comfortable." Basically, take him
comfortable so he can
take him home to die. Mm-hmm. Instead, she found out about me. She brought him to my office. And he was coughing up blood. He was in really bad shape, very weak and everything. But immediately, we put him on some natural teas and herbs, and I started doing some manual therapies. He was okay. Alhamdulillah, he was okay. And then he told her he wanted to go to West Virginia to visit his grandfather. She took him down there. I don't know whatever happened after that. But I've had people...
How long did that process take? From the time he stumbled into your office to being okay?
Couple of months.
Because what I found, I know we're running out of time, so we'll use a little bit of the next segment to talk about this. But what I found is that the only people that really will follow your advice are the people who have absolutely been through everything medically.
Exhausted
and
everything
else. And the doctor's like, there's absolutely nothing we can do. Then they put hope in something else. But if they don't feel like they've exhausted the traditional medical system, you might tell them something, and then if it doesn't work, they run right back.
They usually don't believe me. I remember telling a woman one time, telling her about her gallbladder, and she said, "Well, my doctor didn't say anything." I said, "Listen, what I pick up is preclinical. They don't know this yet. I'm telling you, you have to, be careful. Be kind to your gallbladder. Don't eat fried foods. Drink, lemon water, different things." She didn't pay attention to me. About a year later, she called me from the hospital. I said, "Jeanette, they're telling me I got to have my gallbladder taken out. I got gallstones." I said, I said, "Stop. Don't panic." And I told her what to do. Alhamdulillah, she went home. She did what I told her to do. When she went back again, she had no gallstones. So, I mean, it's, they don't want to listen to me.
There's a lot of people listening right now be like, and they might be excited to call, but they're going to have to take a break because we're going to take a break and we're going to come right back to talk about some more of this. I'm telling you, it's true stuff. It's my mama. I wouldn't bring her on if I wasn't telling you the truth. You're watching Think About It, and I want you to think about this stuff, the healing powers in your own body. You're watching Think About It with Joshua Salaam, brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. Small change, big difference. We'll be right back.
Water is an important part of life, and the difference between clean and dirty water is the difference between life and death. We know that the issue is not that there's a lack of clean water, but a lack of access to it. So we're on a mission to change that. Through Thirst Relief, we're building wells across Africa and Asia to provide millions with access to clean, safe, consumable water. The goal is simple: to provide clean water to every person who needs it. To irrigate gardens like these, horticultural gardens in Gambia. To make sure that no person ever has to drink dirty water ever again. So join us. Visit pennyappealusa.org/thirstrelief and donate today. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Think About It. I'm your host, Joshua Salaam, brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. I know my mother wishes she had another 3 hours with you to tell you about all the stories that have been going on And but just if this stuff seems unbelievable to you, just think about, before the iPhone came out, before, all this technology, amount of data that you were able to do, it seemed impossible that you could pick up one device and speak to somebody wirelessly in China and FaceTime and all this stuff. It's just as technology grows, as knowledge grows, these things become believable to you. So she has this experience with another way of healing people that a lot of people don't know of, but from her experience and from my experience and from hundreds of thousands of people, it's real. So I know you say, Mom, that, you can't, one thing you did say, you said there's no incurable disease.
Absolutely.
There's only incurable people, right? And that's, for Muslims, that's very prophetic, because we know that for everything has a cure. And that we have to be careful not to be too arrogant to say, oh, there's no cure for that. It would be better for us to say, we don't know the cure for that, or we haven't found a cure for that. But just to say, there's no cure for this, or there's no cure for that, there is a cure for it, and we got to find it. And what you believe is that the human body is designed to heal itself.
Absolutely.
We just have to take care of the human body. So since you can't heal everybody and you can't, treat everybody, what are some sources or resources that you would give people to learn more about this, to begin their journey?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, everything that I've learned, and I started out with formal education, because I did read Back to Eden a little bit, and that how to eat right to stay fit way back when. But in the formal things that I've read, I had to and studied my different teachers. I've had now to subject everything to the Quranic supervision. So the first place to really go to is go to the Quran. And when Allah Ta'ala says that He talks about the Quran, and He says that hudan wa shifa, that it's guidance and healing, and then people say, yeah, well, the Quran heals your heart, and they're thinking about spiritual things. Well, there are places where Allah does say shifa ma fi sudur, that it's healing for what's in the chest, and you think about the heart and the lungs. But there's other place where it just says shifa lil mu'minin. It's a healing for people who believe. So the Quran is a healer. He is a huwa. He's a healer himself. And that's the first place to go. And then but to understand that the Quran is kalimatullah, the Quran are words of Allah. So the source of the healing, you have to see Allah as the source of the healing, Quran as a manifestation of that, and also and it's Quran, it's not kitab, it's Quran, it's that oral recitation that brings healing into the body, because something in your deeper inner self is recognizing the words of Allah and beginning to restructure and heal. So in Surah 26, I believe it, that Allah, when Prophet Ibrahim is speaking, he says, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. He's talking about Allah. He's explaining Allah to people. And he's saying, when I become sick, it's He who heals me. So that's the first thing you have to do, is accept that Allah is going to heal you, not the doctor, not the pharmaceutical medicine, not the surgery, not the radiation. Allah is going to heal you. And Allah created you to heal. And the next thing is to use what He said, use what Allah says is a healing. So the second thing He says is healing is Quran. So you use it. And I've had to put people on Quranic prescriptions, for different reasons. But the third thing in the Quran where it says is healing is the honey. Fihi shifa'un linnas. That in the honey there's healing for humanity. And I am just baffled at how many Muslims, and I say, well, are you taking honey? No. Oh, I can't take honey because I'm diabetic. Do you know that Allah said there's healing in honey? So if the honey is having a negative effect on your diabetes, then that honey is not the honey that Allah is speaking about. You have to look at the
You might got the grocery store honey.
That's commercial. The bees never flew. They never flew. They fed them sugar water, and they didn't fly and eat from the flowers. There's a process. And the process that Allah describes has to be followed for the shifa to come. And there's the same thing with anybody. If you're going to be Muslim, there's certain things that have to happen for you to be Muslim, right? It's not just like you're just a Muslim like that. Yes, innerly, deep innerly, but just so you don't get the shifa out of the honey unless the bee goes and kulli min kulli thamarat, eat from all of the plants, and then follow the paths of Allah. The bee has to be allowed to live as she is supposed to live in order to give you the shifa from the honey.
And that's you see that on all these things. So you go to the grocery store, and now they won't say just eggs. It'll be like free range, eggs, to let you know that these chickens were able to go out and eat they weren't caged up, so there's a lot
But,
to that.
but you even need free range, you need pasture.
Right.
You need ones, and some of them it says, something about grass or something. You need them to live a natural life. So that's the first thing. Take what Allah says. Second thing, really good source is Tibb an-Nabawi. Get that book, Medicine of the Prophet, and try to follow. But and the other thing is pay attention to the healers. The greatest healer that we know historically was Prophet Isa alayhi salam. No other prophet was described with that healing ability that Isa had, that he could just heal the leper and make the lame person to walk and bring the dead back to life and all of this stuff. Nobody had that quality. But what did he do? He used his hands and he used dua. And Prophet Muhammad, what did he do? He used his hands, he used dua, like he would recite Surah Al-Fatiha, but he also would recommend foods, like eat this honey, eat this date, eat this the barley for recuperation. There are different foods. So if you read Tibb an-Nabawi, you're going to get a lot of that type of thing. But to understand that there is, for the healers, the true healers, and I found out that's what I was sent here for. It took me a while, but I had a prophetic grandmother, a psychic grandmother, my father's mother, who told me that she saw healing in my hands, and I had no idea what she was talking about. I'm looking at my hands like, okay, Grandma, But it turns out later on, yes, there is. So the true healers are sent, and the true healers have that talent. If Allah sends you to do a task, He has embodied you with all that you need to do the task. So the true healers have talent. And so people have told me they can see gold rays coming off of my hands. I don't see it, but other people can see it, So, but definitely they can feel that healing energy that does come from my hands. So when you look at the prophetic healers, Prophet Isa alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salam, you see what they did and begin to understand that. And then understand that in the plants, and the things that Allah has caused to grow, there is healing. In the Quran, the Shajarat al-Mubarakat, the olive is called a tree of blessing. And when you study that historically, you see that, and I was just amazed. It's like, wow, we have this stuff in front of us in the Quran. It's been there all the time. And that healing the healing of the olive has been there from, endlessly, but it's been shoved into drawers. They tried to do research on it in Western medicine, but they couldn't copy so they could put a patent on it and all that stuff. But instead of antibiotics, the olive leaf is like amazing. Anything that you would need an antiviral or an antibiotic for, the olive leaf that's what you want. It's natural, it doesn't harm anything, it has wahi, it has revelation into it so that it's not going to harm you, it's only going to kill what's harmful to you and leave everything beneficial alive. So when you follow what's in the Quran, study the creation of Allah, the healing, and then seek out the true healers, the real healers. And I'm just one of them, I'm just one, but there are many. And the amazing stories, I can't tell you some of the amazing stories, but there are amazing stories of that healing from me and others. But alhamdulillah.
All right, so let me summarize that for them before we play our game. So, Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Quran, then the medicine of the Prophet. And, don't be like those who say, oh, all I need is, I'm waiting for Allah to heal me. Sister Jeanette said, all I need is Allah, not the medicine, all that. Because there is another process that you still got to eat right. You still, she's giving you some ideas of medicine, of honey and olive leaf and things like that. These things you do take, but it starts with your faith.
And don't forget the black seed. That's when you talk about prophetic medicine, you have to talk about the black seed, right?
Black seed, that's right.
She found healing for everything except death, because it nourishes every system. So don't forget that.
Don't forget that. We need more time, but we don't have more time. So next time you guys come in, listen to the show again. Check out her book, the Magnificent Organ. If you have any questions, you can email us. We'll forward it on to Dr. Jeanette in case you heard something that you disagree with or something that you don't believe in. But it's all real. I'm telling you, it's real. So is this game that we're about to play, and I know it's going to be very difficult to beat my mother on this show. But I gotta be true. No. I gotta be true to myself, Mama. You told me to be honest.
These are hard words.
So we're gonna play until we run out of time. So we got about 5 minutes. All right. So everybody knows how to play the game. You know how to play the game. You watched the show before, right?
I have.
Okay. Here we go. And I'm gonna go first. Sorry. Actually, you can go first, Mama. You can go first.
Organized.
Organized. Structure.
Yeah.
Okay. Typing.
Keyboard.
Nope. Your turn. You're on the same word. Organized.
Ready.
Organized, ready. Prepared.
Almost.
Preparation.
Oh, no, hold.
Okay. All right. So my first clue was typing. My second clue is translation.
Typing, translation. Print.
No.
I don't know. Okay, mine. So I said organized, I said ready, you said prepared, now negative.
Negative. Organized, ready, negative.
You said prepared.
I said prepared.
Now I'm saying negative.
Organized, ready, negative.
Because you were so close.
I was so close. Then I would say organized, ready, prepared.
Just think prepared and then think negative.
Negative. If you're not prepared, you are ill-prepared. You are. I don't know.
You're like right, but you're just the wrong prefix.
Wrong prefix.
It's not ill.
These are clues. Unprepared.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That is a tough word. All right. So my turn. So I said typing, translation, what's that person in the courtroom? Legal.
Oh, stenographer?
No.
Oh, I know it's this.
I wouldn't even know what that word is.
Court recorder or something like that.
All right, your turn. Second word. Mama's winning.
Brag.
Boast. Okay. Typing. Translation. Legal. Secretary.
The court recorder. I don't know what you call this.
Yeah, but what do they do? Actually, maybe I need to go down a different route. Okay, go ahead. Guess something.
Say something.
Yeah.
What do they do? I don't know what they do. They record what you're saying.
Yeah, I messed up on this word. Okay, no problem.
They translate. Shoot, I can't even think of something. They
Time, Mama, the time.
I know, but I don't know what they do. They type, they record, they do stenography.
All right, good guesses. Good guesses.
They do. Okay.
Hey, be easy with the sounds over there. All right, go ahead.
So what did I say? I said I said brag.
Brag. Yeah.
Okay, so elaborate.
Brag, elaborate. And I already said boast, right? So I have to say something. I'm going to say, this is the last word. Let me see if I can get it for you. Brag, elaborate.
We're both sleep deprived. It's Ramadan.
Confident. What's the word?
Confident. Exaggerate.
Exaggerate. Guess what my word was?
What?
Dictate.
Oh, well, they don't dictate.
Who dictates?
The stenographer is record. Oh, Who dictates is the person speaking is the dictator.
Yeah.
And the person that they're taking dictation is the stenographer. The stenographer takes dictation.
I was about to go a different route. I was going to name a dictator.
Oh.
Won't say any names because there's a bunch of them out there. But anyway, you have been watching Think About It with Joshua Salaam and my mother, Dr. Jeanette Hablullah. Check out her book, The Magnificent Organ. Check out that other book she said, Tibba Nabawi, The Medicine of the Prophet, and some of the healing stories in the Quran, and you will find out all about her, inshallah. Thank you so much for watching. This is all brought to you by pennyappealusa.org. Small change, big difference. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This Deen TV video was made possible in part by Penny Appeal USA, Small Change, Big Difference, and by Recycle Processes Incorporated.